the alleged confessions of both accused number 1 and number 2 were not freely and voluntarily taken or made. They did not make any statements to the effect.
So, I disagree, my lord. That's one. Secondly, accused 1, both accused, before the confession was formalized, spoke to me. And when they spoke to me, my lord, they were aware of their rights. The confession that they made to me was made freely, voluntarily, without any undue influence. Therefore, I'll have no reason to doubt why they will know now when they get to the independent officer, will not confirm such, because they elected to do such. That's the first part I want to explain, my lord.
Manje mina njengommeli ngiyakwazisa ukuthi thina asivumi lolu daba ukuthi abamangalelwa baye bagundunuka laphayana umangalelo oqala nowesibini. Uthi ke ubrigadier uma ephendula uthi cha lokho ngiyaphika ngoba abamangalelwa baye bakhuluma nami qala ngaphambi kokuthi baye kulomuntu nomunye. Nakhona uma sebafika lapho kungani bangazange bachaze ukuthi thina asifuni kuyenza lento, asifuni ukukhuluma, uthi mina baye bakhuluma nami ingakho ngingagcina sekuthi ngibathumela uzakwethu ukuthi bayokunika khona.
The second part, my lord, the accused 2 in particular, then the second confession was made in the presence of his attorney to the magistrate on the 24th of June 2020. But furthermore, my lord, there was a 105 engagement in terms of Criminal Procedure Act, Section 105 capital A, between the state and the accused while he was legally represented. And in the documentation that we have, they firmly say they stand by the 2 confessions that were made by accused 2.
Manje ke futhi enye into esemqoka ukuthi ummangalelo wesibini wagunyuluka nge-24 zika June 2020 ebekade enommeli wakhe. Futhi kuye kwabhalwa futhi naphansi ukuthi bona bame ngawo lawo mazwi lawo akhulunywa ummangalelo wesibini.
And elected as part of his plea bargaining proposal, my lord, I'm sorry, I must say this because the assertion is that they never made any statement. Insofar as admitting the statement he made, went further in proposing the plea bargaining that he will plead guilty and testify against his co-accused. That is the extent of the discussions between accused 2 and the state.
Futhi ke akaphelelanga lapho ngokugonyuluka nje ummangalelo wesibini uye wakhulumisana nathi ukuthi ke ake siyenzeni kanje ngizovuma icala mina bese ningenza ufakazi kulo lelicala ngizofakaza ngalolu daba olwenzakele ngikhulume nokuthi abafowethu bayenzeni noma ngisho ukuthi abafowethu kwenzakele.
So those are the reasons, my lord, why I will not believe now that all of a sudden those statements were not made. There wouldn't be that discussion insofar as accused number 2 and even accused number 1. In all the appearances, not once was it raised. Even in Boxbeck, on the first appearance, my lord, none of the accused, this is 1 and 2, raised the inadmissibility of the confessions that they've made.
Futhi ke abamangalelwa bobabini umangalelo oqala nowesibini akukho nalanga lesikhathi bevela enkantolo naseBoxbeck la ukuthi bona baye bachaza ukuthi animancana thina siphuqelelwa ukuthi sikhulume, thina asivumi leyo nto, thina besingafuni ukuthi sivume, thina besingafuni ukuthi sikhulume lento leyo thina siphoqiwe. Bathi cha akukho la ukuthi baye baveza lokho.
When accused number 1 was arrested on the 30th of May 2020, on the same day he made a confession.
That is correct, my lord.
Umangalelo oqala uma eboshwa nge-30 zika May 2020 kula ikuthi yena uye wagunyuluka khona uthi yena.
And you said you did not know Colonel Mboto. Am I correct?
No, I said I've never worked with him and he was not privy to the investigation. I don't think if I said I did not know Colonel Mboto. The person that I said, my lord, I do not know. I've never spoken to him and I've never worked with him and even saw him for the first time was Lieutenant Colonel Rapado. I don't think I said the same thing about Colonel Mboto.
Uthi uye wathi ke uColonel Mboto bokade ungamazi uthi cha uma ngikhumbula kahle uMbotho ngithe angikaze ngisebenze naye futhi wayekade engenalo ulwazi laleli cala.
Okay.
Mina angizange ngithi angimazi umuntu ongicabanga ukuthi ngithe angimazi uKennel Rapal.
No, it's fine. Accused number 1, when he was arrested at Tembisa, he was then taken to Foslorus. But before he was taken to Foslorus, he said he was beaten, he was tortured to make a confession. Will you dispute that?
Well, my lord, it was not told to me. I was not there when he was arrested. What I know is the engagement that I had with him at Phosphorus police station. And when we were there is no statement that he made to me that he was tortured or beaten. I've asked him. I actually even took an opportunity of sending away the officers who were there with me and spoke to him away from them because I wanted to establish exactly that whether he was threatened or he was talking to me under undue duress, and I didn't pick that up, my lord, and I didn't see any visible injuries, nor did he tell me that, my lord.
Uthi ummangalelwa wokuqala yena ngalesikhathi eboshwa eThembisa uye washawa waphoqwa ukuthi ayokhuluma. Uthi ke ubrigadier mina ngalesikhathi elethwa kimi eFosloras akazange akusho lokho. Futhi nalamaphoyisa labe bambopha mina ngiye ngathi bahambe ukwenzela ukuthi ngikhulumisane naye ummangalelwa ngizokwazi ukuzwa ukuthi ngempela mhlawumbe ummangalelwa ushayiwe noma kunento ayenziwe engamphathanga kahle azokwazi ukukhululeka enami sobabini kodwa akukho na ummangalelwa agcine sekuthi uyasho ukuthi kwenzakeleni kuye.
What I want to establish is when you were talking to accused number 1 at Foslorus, and when you asked those people to give you space, you're the one who was telling Colonel Mboto that a person wants to make a confession.
No, so that's not how it happened, my lord. I warned him, we spoke, when it was clear that he was prepared to make a confession to an independent officer, freely and voluntarily. I then instructed those members to change the direction in terms of where they were going and go to Eraton. While I was driving to Eraton, alone in the car, I phoned numerous officers until I got assistance from Colonel Mboto. So the communication between myself and Command Board and Colonel Mboto was not in the presence of accused number 1.
Manje ke ummangalelwa ngalesikhathi uze kuthola uKennel Mboto wena ubukade unaye uthi cha mina ethema kulibele besahamba naye ummangalelwa kulayi ukuthi ngiye ngabacebisa ukuthi baye ngase Eraton mina ngangishayela ngedwa layi ukuthi ngiye ngashayela ucingo amaphoyisa amanye ahlukile kulayi ukuthi ngicine sengithola uncedo kuye uKennel Mboto ngalesikhathi ummangalelwa wayekade engekho nami enalamanye amaphoyisa.
All right. My question is, when you communicated with Colonel Mboto, that was you who informed him that there's a suspect who wants to make a confession.
That is correct, it was me, my lord.
Uthi yebo ngalesikhathi ngikhuluma noMbotho ngiye ngamtshela ukuthi kunomsolwa ofuna ukuyokhona.
Okay. I just want to establish if you heard accused number 1 telling Colonel Mboto that he wants to make a confession.
No, my lord. As I said, my discussion with him was, are you prepared to make a confession to an independent officer, not Colonel Mboto? I did not know which officer I would find at the time. So, and as I said, when the communication of following various officers were made by me, the accused number 1 was not there. So I didn't ask him to make a confession specific to Colonel Mboto because I did not know who will assist me at the time.
Manje ke umzwile na ummangalelwa yena ekhuluma kuKennel Mboto uthi cha ngalesikhathi mina ngikhuluma nommangalelwa bengingakatholi ukuthi ubani umuntu ozongisiza ukuthi ummangalelwa akhulume futhi ummangalelwa angizange ngithi kuye uzimisele na ukuthi ungayokhuluma noKenneth Mbondo. Mina ngithe uzimisele ukuthi ungayokhuluma nomuntu ongekho la phakathi kwethu oyekuthi kuumuntu okhululekile ole eceleni.
But you will not disagree with the accused if he says he did not tell Colonel Mbondo after he has been appointed or whatever way. But he says he did not communicate to Mbondo that he wants to make a confession. You cannot dispute that. That was only said by you.
I don't follow, my lord. Which part was said by me?
May I rephrase it?
Yes.
I will say accused number 1 did not make or did not say he wants to make a confession to Colonel Mbondo. That you cannot dispute.
No, my lord. As I said, there was no mention of Colonel Mbondo in my discussion with him. It was a discussion of, are you willing to freely and voluntarily make this confession to an independent officer, someone not attached to this investigation? The answer was yes.
All right.
There was no specific name given that this is the person who will take the confession.
Thingicacise kanjena Nkosi yenkantolo, mina angizange ngithi kummangalelo wokuqala uzimisele ukuyokhuluma noKenneth Mbondo. Mina ngithe uzimisele na ukuyokhuluma nomuntu ozimele ongekho la phakathi kwethu. Angizange ngimnike igama ukuthi eyokhuluma nobani.
Okay. May I rephrase it by saying accused number 1 did not say he want to make a confession to that independent person. Will you dispute that? That
Yes,
he never said that.
No, absolutely, I'll dispute it because he said it to me. He said it to me, hence I made those arrangements. If he did not say it, I was not going to make those arrangements.
Manje uzophikisana nommangalelwa na uma yena engathi akazange athi yena ufuna ukuyokhuluma nalo muntu lo obekade ezimele. Uthi yebo lokho ngizokuphika ngoba bengeke ngiyenze ukuthi ngithole lo muntu uma ingabe ummangalelwa wayekade engashongo ukuthi ufuna ukuyokhuluma nomuntu ozimele.
That's the reason why accused number 1 says he was subjected to torture, he was choked for him and for you to make such arrangements. He did not voluntarily make such a statement. There was a prior act or action that was taken against his will. Later, you then made arrangements for the taking of the confession. That's what he's saying.
My lord, let me understand so that I don't answer haphazardly. Is the defense saying accused 1 was tortured in my presence? Because I understood him to be saying he was tortured in Tembisa, then brought to me. So is that what the defense is saying, or is it now saying, or the version is that he was now tortured in my presence? So that I'm clear in my response.
Let it be clear. Accused number 1, he was tortured in Tembisa when he was arrested, taken to Foslorus.
I've answered
I did
it.
not mention
Sorry.
torture in your presence.
Oh.
I just said when you allege that he made a confession, he was subjected, I didn't specify the place where. He was assaulted by the police. As a result, when you arrived, that's then the issue of taking a confession happened. Because according to him, he did not speak to any independent person to say, I want to make a confession.
My lord, he spoke to me prior to Kenneth Mbondo. Prior to me meeting him, I got a call from Sergeant Mohola who told me that he was making some sort of admissions. Hence, I then said, bring this person to Fosoras ACPS so that I can talk to him. When we met, my lord, there was no indication or complaint that was said to me by accused number 1 insofar as being threatened or tortured or anything whatsoever. I asked him this question when I was trying to establish that he is making this, willing to make this confession freely and voluntarily, and that he understood his right. He didn't say such to me, my Lord, and I did not see any visible injuries or signs of being in pain, or things like that. I did not read anything to that effect, my Lord. Otherwise, I would not have proceeded making such arrangements.
Mina kimi ngalesikhathi umangalelwa nginaye angizange ngibone impawu zokuthi mhlawumbe ushayiwe noma ulinyaziwe noma uphoqelewe ukuthi agcine seyikuthi ufuna ukuyogonyuluka, ngoba uma bengikade ngibonile bengizombuza bese ngiyenza isiqiniseko sokuthi lo muntu lo akayenza into eyena angayifuni. Mina ngimbuze imibuzo ngizama ukwenza isiqiniseko sokuthi ngemva kokuthi umhula sekamlethe kimi iqiniso nawo ukuthi lento umhula angitshelayo ukuthi ingathi ummangalelwa yena kunezinto azikhulumayo ezenza ukuthi manje kuzofuneka ukuthi kutholakale umuntu la azokunyuluka khona. Ngifike ngambuza nami ukuthi iqiniso na kube bengibone lezo impawu bengeke ngiqhubeke.
Okay. Now, at that time, when the alleged confession was taken, after the confession was taken, the alleged confession was taken, what was the step that you took to charge the accused? Because now we have some kind of evidence implicating accused number one.
No,
What step did you take?
So, my Lord, there was no step. It was not necessary. There is no, with greatest respect, my Lord, I don't mean it to sound it in a bad way. There is no law that says once a confession is made, a person must be charged. Unless a person says, I'm pleading guilty, take me to court. And that is why, insofar as accused number 2, we had this 105 capital A arrangement. Those are the processes that are undertaken. So you don't, because when a person confesses, he's simply saying, I'm admitting my wrongdoing, then there are processes that will be put into place to finalize the matter. You don't just turn and charge a person just like that. And if it's investigation, my Lord, I needed personally to corroborate what was said, to get more evidence, establish whether what he is saying there's authenticity in it. So there were a lot of things that needed to be done before you can come to the finalization of that confession matter.
Eziphi inyathelo ezithathile ngemva kokuthi umangalelwa sekagonyulekile ukuze uzogcina somthwese icala uthi cha akusukuthi kwamele kube nezinyathelo ezithathwayo umuntu mayeqeda ukugonyuluka? Kwamele lo muntu loyo mhlawumbe yena uma engathi uvuma icala bese ke ngiacele yena ukuthi ngiyisene enkantolo kulayi ukuthi lo muntu uthathwa ayisiwe enkantolo. Kodwa ngemva kokuthi umuntu sekagunyulukile akusukuthi kwamele athweswe amacala, kwamele kwenziwe isiqiniseko cala sokuthi lo muntu lona lento azikhulumayo zineqiniso elingakanani, ziyiqiniso elingakanani, futhi lezo zinto uzikhulume kahle ngale ndlela bekade vele bekwamele azikhulume ngayo, ngale ndlela yena azi ukuthi kwenzakele ngakhona. Ingakho kuye kwagcinwa seyikuthi kwenziwa nalesi sivumelwano ebekade siyenziwe lesiyana ngomangalelo wesibini la bekade ethe angavuma icala bese yena kugcina seyikuthi ugcina sekufakazi. Kodwa akusukuthi umuntu mayeqeda ukugunyuluka bese uthweswa amacala.
What do you understand about the procedure after you have explained the rights of the accused to be brought before court within 48 hours? What do you understand by that?
My understanding, my Lord, is that when he's charged, my Lord, he must indeed appear before court within 48 hours, and if 48 hours lapses on the weekend, on the first day of the court appearance, when he's charged on that matter, not when he's given rights for investigation purposes. Those are two different things, my Lord. You are given rights, 14A, you are charged formally to say, now, these are the charges, we're putting them on you. Then indeed, within 48 hours, or on the first day after the ending of the 48 hours, if it's on weekend, my Lord, the said person must appear in court.
Engikuzwisisisayo ngokuthweswa kwamacala ukuthi umuntu ma ethweswe icala lo muntu loyo kwamele ayobingelela umantshi kumahora kungakapheli amahora ayishumi nane nesishiyagalombili. Uma kungenzeka ukuthi lawo mahora lawo awela ngaphansi kwempela sonto kula ukuthi lo muntu loyo iviki uma liqala kwamele aye ayobingelela umantshi kodwa uma ingabe kungayenzakalanga kanjalo mhlawumbe engakathweswa amaqala kungenzeka ukuthi amahora lawo amahle adlo.
All right. Accused number 1 was detained in Valeria after the taking of a confession. He was detained.
I agree.
And his rights were explained further.
I agree, but the reason, my lord, that's what Mr. Ngomizelo is not going to. He was detained in Valeria for the charge of dealing in drugs. And the rights were given insofar as that matter. Subsequently, he was formally charged, and on the 1st of June, he appeared in Tembisa court for those charges.
Uthi ke
2020, 1st of June 2020, my lord.
umangalelwa wokuqala ke yena ngemva kokuthi sekakhulumile na loyelela phoyisa uye waboshwa ke wavalelwa eValeria. Uthi yebo wavalelwa eValeria kodwa bekangavalelwa ngenxa yaleli cala ukuthi ulithweswe lona noma bekade ebhekene nalo. Ubekade evalelwe ngenxa yaleli yacala lokushushumbisa idakamizwa akusiyileli esikulo namuhla.
Yes. Now the question is, from the day he made a confession, the alleged confession, that is the 30th of May. Then the 6th of June, it's an alleged pointing out. So, was that evidence not enough to charge accused number 1?
So, my lord, let me just correct one thing. The pointing out was done on the 5th of June, not the 6th.
Sorry, the 5th.
Yeah, the 5th
Yes.
of June 2020, my lord. That's the first part.
Yes.
Now, yes, my lord. So, in the confession, the written confession, not the pointing out, certain things were said by accused number 1, which one followed extensively. And what we followed is in the docket that we disclosed to the defense. As I said, we needed to corroborate what was said there. So there were things that were said there that were followed in terms of his co-accused and where possibly the whole thing came from, the killing of Senzo Meyiwa, because he mentions clearly who gives them the instruction to kill Senzo Meyiwa. So those things, you can't just say now it's enough. You've not found independent corroborating evidence of the assertion that is saying like that.
Manje ke umangalelwa yena uyaboshwa ke nge-30 zika May 2020 bese nge-5 kula ukuthi yena uyahamba uyokhomba okuthize. Uthi yebo ke kodwa bekwamele siphenye siqhubeke uphenyo ngoba kunezinye izinto azishoyo kuleya ndaba le ayikhulumile. Uyasho nokuthi ubani obatshelile ukuthi bayobulaya uSenzo Meyiwa. Bekungasi ukuthi sizovele sithathe lokho akushilo bese simthwesa amaqala. Bekwamele siqale siphenye.
All right. If a person is detained after he has made a confession, and on the 5th of June, it is alleged that he pointed out either the crime scene or whatever place, that person is still kept in detention until he is charged on the 26th of October 2020.
My lord, he was kept in detention not for this matter. He was in detention for the drug dealing matter, not this matter.
Umangalelwa lo njengoba eboshwa nge-30 zikaMeyi nge-5 ehamba ayokhomba le ndawo noma eyokhomba noma yini le bekade yenzeka, uye wagcinwa estokisini kufikela nge-26 zika October 2020. Uthi yebo kodwa engagcinelwanga leli cala, wayekade egcinelwe icala ledakamizwa.
But the investigations were ongoing whilst he was in custody.
I agree. So far as this matter is concerned, they were ongoing, my lord, and rightfully so.
Yebo uphenyo lalikade liqhubeka ngaleli cala njengoba ummangalelwa yena wayekade egciniwe esitokisini.
Okay. So, to place it on record, from the day he made such an alleged confession, pointing out on the 5th, up to the day in which he was formally charged on the 26th. Accused number 1 indicated to me that there is a document where his fingerprints were taken, and that document bears the date in which he was charged.
I'm not sure, my lord, what document is referring to. But what I can say about fingerprints, the taking of fingerprint does not necessarily mean you have been formally charged. Fingerprints are taken, for example, if you want to run your fingerprints to see if you are linked in other matters, which, for example, you could be circulated or partial prints, appearing on the system and you are still outstanding. So there are various reasons why fingerprints are taken, but I'm not sure what document is referring to in this one in particular. But all that I'm saying is that during the cold case analysis, as I've indicated earlier, when we were trying to triangulate them and eventually go to them, a lot of extensive investigation in terms of profiling, and obviously when we got to them, prints were taken for the Tembisa matter, and obviously elimination prints were also taken to see if you can pick them up in various matters. Hence, different cases were picked up that we were aware of before we picked them up. Others came up after accused 1 was picked up, my lord.
Manje ke ummangalelwa utshele ummeli wakhe ukuthi kunephepha thizeni eyukuthi lela setshenziswa ama fingerprint wakhe wabekwa kulo lelo phepha. Uyalazi na uthi ufakazi uma ephendula cha lelo phepha ngazi ukuthi eliphi. Mina ongwaziyo ukuthi umuntu akusukuthi makuthathwe ama fingerprints wakhe lo muntu sekathweswe amagama. Kungenzeka ukuthi lawo ma fingerprint athathwa ukuthi kuyohlolwa ukuthi mhlawumbe awekho amanye amacala la ukuthi lo muntu ubandakanyeka kuwo noma lo muntu loyo. And my lord, I see the accused there's a reason in his hand.
Yes.
Lo muntu loyo angahle mhlawumbe ama fingerprint lawo kuyohlolwa ukuthi akhona na amanye amacala noma lawo ma fingerprint kugcine seyukuthi usayobhekwa ukuthi lo muntu lo uyena lo muntu osithi uyena.
All right. Tell me, who formally charged accused number 1?
It's Sergeant Mahula.
Ubani umuntu othwese ummangalelo wokuqala icala uthi uSergeant Mahula
In relation to this matter?
Yes.
Of Senzo Meyiwa.
Correct, in relation to Phosphorus 636 of 10/2014.
uthi ngikhuluma ngayo uSergeant Mahula uyena othwese ummangalelo wokuqala icala leli lika mufi uSenzo Meyiwa.
Do you know which date was he charged?
26th of October 2020, my lord.
Uyazi ukuthi uthweswe nini icala uthi yebo bekade kuyi 26 zika October 2020.
Thank you, my lord. According to evidence or the version of accused number 1, he says, you're the one who charged him at Phosphorus police station, and it was, he can't recall the date, but it was in August.
My lord, as I've said, we've disclosed the docket. The 14A, the defense is in possession of. They can see the person who gave the notice of rights insofar as this matter is clearly depicted. There's no confusion. It's Sergeant Mahula. The statement that she's made insofar as charging the accused on the 26th of October, it's there. The defense has it. The warrant of arrest that was executed on the 26th of October 2020 is also there. It's been disclosed to the defense. There's no dispute who charged him. It wasn't me. I did charge some of the accused, or one of the accused, but definitely not accused number one, my lord.
Sibiya uyalichitha ubrigadier Gininda udaba lokuthi uyena okuthwese icala ngo-August uthi cha akusuyena yonke into ibhaliwe edokethini futhi uthi ibhalwe ukuthi uSergeant Mkhula uthi yebo yena ukhona omunye wenu oyikuthi uye wamthwesa amacala kodwa bekungasusibiya.
My Lord, with your leave, may I reserve this question until I fully consult with the contents of the docket.
You haven't consulted the docket
Relating
yet?
to, relating to that aspect. I need to revisit my notes, the docket.
Okay, fine.
So in essence, my lord, what should perhaps, what I can say, my lord, there is no reason for me to hide the fact that I would have charged accused number one if I did. Hence, the accused that I charged, that is before court, and that is accused number 4. My statement is there as well. Notice of right, statement, the warrant that was executed is also attached in the docket, and it has been disclosed to the defense. So there's no hide and seek around it. It's the pertinent issue, my lord. I don't think it's really something that we're going to hide, my lord.
Now,
Uma egcwalisela kwimpendulo yakhe ke ubrigadier uthi asikho isizathu esingayenza ukuthi yena afihle ukuthi uthwese bani amacala uthi kahle kahle umuntu oyena amthwese icala umangalelwa wesine oyikuthi uyena oyewamthwesa amacala akusumangalelwa wokuqala asikho isizathu esingayenza ukuthi yena afihle ngoba into encane ukuthi ukuthwese umuntu icala bese uyayichaza akusinto ukuthi angahla ifihle.
if permission is granted, my Lord, may I proceed to other questions?
Yeah, no.
Yes. There's one thing that I just want to conclude on the aspect of the taking of it. It's an obvious question. It's an obvious question that you were not present to prove that accused number one gave that confession freely and voluntarily. When it was the allegation that he made such a confession, you were not physically present.
With Colonel Mboto, which accused perhaps, maybe to be
I
more
was
specific.
referring to accused number one.
I was not with Colonel Mboto, I agree. I was not there. But if you say to me, my lord, the confession was not made free and voluntary, that's not the impression I got, because it started with me. And my understanding, it was free and voluntary. When he came back, I spoke to him, and I didn't receive any complaints from him. Hence, the proceedings of the pointing out to the traditional healer the following day was embarked upon. The arrangement of the formal pointing out, confession by conduct of the 5th of June was embarked upon after I confirmed with him in person on the 4th, the day before, that he's still willing to proceed with this confession by conduct matter. So the information or the impression that I got in all material times, because he was warned according to his constitutional rights, is that he was willing to continue and he was making these confessions freely and voluntarily. I don't have any reason to doubt.
Uthi-ke manje kuyazeka ukuthi wawukade ungekho ngalesikhathi ummangalelo wokuqala egunyuluka uthi yebo bengingekho kodwa mina into engiyaziyo ukuthi ukhulumile ekhuluma engaphoqwanga ngoba uma ebuyela kimi ngiye ngambuza ukuthi uhambe kanjani laphayana ukhulume kahle akuzange kube nokuthi aphoqwe akazange alinyazwe noma into ezinjalo uthi umangalelwa naye akazange angibonise noma angitshele ukuthi ushayiwe noma kunani eyenzakele ebekade ingekho emthethweni uthi futhi leyo into eyikuthi ngijwayele ukuthi ngiyenze ukuthi umuntu mayebuya bese ngiyambuza ukuze nganeliseke nami ukuthi lo muntu akaphoqwa.
You deal with the requirements of free and voluntariness in sound and sober senses. On the interview that you had with the accused, that was not a confession, in terms of the provisions of Section 217. It was just an interaction between you and the suspect. So there were no formalities there. But the formalities, in terms of the provision, must be proved by the person who took a confession. When you say, may I just qualify this for you to understand this? You explain the rights. After he said the said information to you, that was an informal process. Do you agree?
I'm not sure.
May I repeat it?
Yeah.
May I rephrase it? At Fosloras police station on the 30th of May, when you were interacting with accused number 1, I'm saying whatever that he said to you was an informal process, because for you to legitimize that process, you had to get somebody who must take a formal confession. You agree?
I agree. I agree, my lord. But the part that I wanted to correct was that it was the rights before and then he spoke, not the other way around. That he spoke and then I wanted.
Uthi manje ke uyavuma nawo ukuthi inkulumo yakho nommangalelo oqala lapha eFosloras bakade kuyinkulumo nje ebungasi inkulumo esemthethweni noma ebhalwayo ukuthi ingahle isetshenzisiwe. Uthi yebo lokho ngiyakuvuma, kodwa ngicela ukucacisa la ukuthi akusukuthi ukukhulumile bese ngimtshela amalungelo, ngimtshele amalungelo cala bese uyakhuluma.
Yes. What I want to put across to you is that what Mboto or Colonel Mboto has done with accused number 1, and you were not present, cannot be an evidence by you to confirm that the provisions of section 217 were complied with. That from you is a hearsay evidence,
Well,
because
my
you were
lord,
not present.
Yes, I totally agree, my lord. I was not there. All I'm saying, and that's what I've said even earlier, not giving an impression that I was present. All I'm saying is that prior to Colonel Mboto kicking in, I was convinced that he's prepared to make this confession freely and voluntarily. And the issues of not being under influence, my lord, I think they're critical, because you cannot, for example, establish that the person is under medication or he is intoxicated. I mean, why would you want to formalize that confession? So they were important before you can start formalizing the process. But yes, I was not present with Colonel Mboto. All I was saying is that there was no reason given to me prior to the taking of the formal confession and after. But furthermore, my lord, I had access to the confession when I collected it from Colonel Mboto in his office. And it's clearly, I mean, I read it, and I read it, I saw what questions were put, what answers were given, and the signatures that were put there. So if you go through that confession, insofar as I went through it, my lord, I did not also get any impression that some rights were violated, insofar as the performer is concerned.
Mina ke ngibone ukuthi ngemva kokuthi umangalelwa aye kuKolonel Mboto ekhulumile mase sekufika leliya phepha ukuthi bekade elibhala, ngibone ukuthi akunamalungelo wakamangalelwa ukuthi wona ayiwanyathelwa la ukuthi umangalelwa mhlawumbe wenziswe into bekade engafuni ukuyenza, ngoba njengophoyisa eliphenya kuyicala ngiyengafunda konke obekade kukhulunywa kubhalwa ngabona nemibuzo ebekade ibuzwa, futhi kubalekile ukuthi umuntu umbheke noma umbuze ukuthi lento afuna uyikhuluma ngenhliziyo yakhe ekhululekile akaphoqwanga, uthi nalokho ngikwenzile njengoba ngiyiphoyisa eliphenya kuleli cala.
The essence of this question, before I move on to something else, is that the version of accused number 1 says he was compelled to endorse a signature on a statement. He did not make a statement himself. And that when he endorsed the signature, you were not present.
Yes, I agree, my lord. Like I've said, what took place insofar as the formal taking of the statement, I was not there. So Colonel Mboto, I think, will be a better person to talk to those issues.
Uthi ummangalelwa wokuqala uma etshela ummeli wakhe ukuthi yena uye waphoqwa ukuthi asayinde iphepha elithize eline statement. Futhi wena brigadier wawukade ungekho, angisho uthi yebo engikade ngingekho, nalokho uKolonel Mboto ongeza ezochaza kabanzi ngalolu daba ummangalelwa okhuluma ngalo.
And in relation to the issue of being kept incommunicado, he was not afforded an opportunity to communicate with his family. He was kept in a single cell alone. Will you regard that as human enough to detain such a person under those conditions?
So, my lord, I think I also dealt with this aspect last year, that during June 2020, the country was under COVID lockdown. It was a regulation which, if you violate, you could be charged to maintain a safe, distance between parties. And I did mention, my lord, that depending on the facilities that each police station will have, they will decide as to how many inmates they will incarcerate per cell. We, as the investigation team, did not have influence, detection as to who must be incarcerated where. Ours is to hand the person in, sign the handing over of that person, they receive that person, they place that person according to the category of the charges he's facing, and as they deem fit according to their regulation. That is the first part, my lord. But the second part, which says he did not speak to his family, I don't think it's true, because on the first appearance in Tembisa, he was legally represented by legal aid. Subsequent to that, his family hired a private attorney who represented him in that matter and eventually came to Phosphorus when we charged him in Phosphorus court. So he was able to make those calls and communicate with his family, and hence private attorneys were activated.
Umeli uchaza lelo daba lokuthi wena Sibiya uye wavalelwa ngendlela ebekade ingekho emthethweni la ukuthi awuzange unikwe nethuba lokuthi uxhumane nomndeni wakho, futhi wawukade uvalelwe wedwa. Uyachaza ubrigadier ukuthi yebo ekuvalelweni yedwa bekungasithina abaphenyayo ngecala abatshele ipolice station ukuthi lo muntu akavalele yedwa. Uthi uma sikhumbula ngo-2020 ngoJune country yonke yayikade ikwi-lockdown la ukuthi abantu bekade bengamelanga ukuthi bagcwale la ukuthi ipolice station yona iyona ebekade isho ukuthi kwamele kufakwe abantu abangakanani eselini elithize. Futhi lolu daba lokuthi wena bowungaxhumani nomndeni wakho uthi akaliboni kuyiqiniso, ngoba uma uyovela phambi kwamantshi uye ubokade unommeli we-legal aid la ukuthi ngemva kwalokho wena umndeni wakho uyibekade ukhona, futhi wakufunela nomunye ummeli okhokhelwayo. Yingakho bona babona ukuthi wawukade uxhumana nommeli wakho njengoba wawukade uxhumana nomndeni wakho njengoba wawukade ukhona, futhi bakufunela nommeli okhokhelwayo.
My lord, I'm not sure if it's convenient time to attend for lunch.
Yeah, you said you wanted to pose some other questions.
It's only one question. The aspect.
No, we can do it any other time.
Yes,
Okay, so, but you want us to adjourn now?
for lunch.
Is that the consensus, Mr. Baloyi?
Indeed, it's time
Okay.
for the long agenda.
There's just one aspect this court is going to remark on. He keeps telling Mr. Mgumezulu that when I so-called interfering, I only quoting the law. You see this process of saying when he agrees with you, you're both wrong. When you put it to him, Brigadier Gininda, that when he was speaking to your client, accused number 1, and gleaned from number 1 that he wants to make a confession, that was an informal process. No, that's a constitutional process. It's not informal. Our law says an accused person must be apprised of his rights in terms of Section 35. So when this accused person, who is a lay person and doesn't know the law, says to you, when you speak to him, he wants to make a confession. When you engage him, that is his constitutional right, and that is a constitutional process. Okay,
May I tell?
that's the law.
Yes.
You and Gininda can agree on another law. That one I don't know.
My Lord, may I clarify it? The explanation of rights is something else.
No, fine.
I was talking about,
An informal process.
yes, like taking off a confession in terms of Section 217.
It's not informal, Mr. It's not. It's a constitutional requirement that before a person makes a confession, he must be apprised of his right. Can I ask Mr. Am I correct? Mr. Nis.
There's nothing informal.
Yes.
Everything's
You see, and I keep quiet now. Hayi, the judge has umthetho. When I mention it, hayi, the judge interfere.
manje-ke inkantolo ichaza ukuthi njengoba ummeli ethe ngalesikhathi ukhulumisana no-brigadier leyo nto yakade inkulumo engekho emthethweni, uthi cha inkulumo esemthethweni ngoba umthetho-sekelo i-constitution iyachaza ukuthi umuntu uma efuna ukukhuluma leyo nto leyo ayikhulumayo ilungelo lakhe eyikuthi lisemthethweni. Manje ngalesikhathi nikhuluma no-brigadier bakade kuyilungelo lakho eyikuthi lisemthethweni futhi libhalwe nakumthetho-sekelo. Inkosi yenkantolo ithi yona ayigamukeli kule indaba ezikammeli wakho no-brigadier Gininda, futhi uyabuza nomnumzana umnisi ukuthi iqiniso na uthi yebo into esemthethweni ngoba ilungelo elikumthetho-sekelo.
Okay, can you adjourn then until 2?